morning, China calls for restraint on Korea-U.S. military drills during talks between the chief nuclear delegates from Washington and Beijing as they discuss the resumption of six-party talks to denuclearize North Korea. The tobacco war continues following a landmark ruling for the cigarette companies, this time the plaintiff, the National Health Insurance Service, suing for medical costs due to purported tobacco-related illnesses. Pimples, zits, and acne isn't just a teenage phase. Severity differs in many cases and can persist in your adult life. What can you do if it's happening to you? Get a first-hand look at technological advancements that may help reshape the future. The latest inventions and developments in the field of energy on Korea Today, Tuesday, April 15th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Welcome to Korea Today on this Tuesday morning. I'm Ojin Ju alongside Kim Min-jung and Kim Young. Now, although we have a few months ahead, many people here in Korea, whether it be Catholic or non-Catholic, are looking forward to Pope Francis' visit to Korea in August, and he publicly expressed his expectations of this visit.
That's right. Him visiting Korea in August may be old news by now, but him making the announcement makes it a whole new thing, right? He told a crowd of some 100,000 people gathered at St. Peter's Basilica. So let's take a look.
15 agosto prossimo a Daejeon, nella Repubblica di Corea, incontrerò I giovani dell'Asia nel loro grande raduno continentale.
So he'll be coming to Korea for 5 days, and a lot of people, Catholics and non-Catholics alike, are excited about this. It's such an honor, I think.
That's
During his vacation, too.
Yep, and his vacation will not just include a vacation, but it'll also include a a big mass, large scale in Daejeon. That will be included over there. Now, we now move on to our top story. Chief nuclear delegates from the United States and China have sat down in New York to discuss resuming the six-party talks aimed at dismantling North Korea's nuclear program. China's Representative Wu Da-wei and his U.S. counterpart Glenn Davies are believed to have discussed the conditions on which the multilateral disarmament talks can reopen. Amid a flurry of diplomatic efforts to get the talks back on track, China is reportedly urging Seoul and Washington to refrain from conducting their annual joint military drills, which are currently underway. Diplomatic sources say Wu made the request to his Korean counterpart Hwang Jun-guk last week, adding that the exercises are one of the factors that heighten tensions in the region. Hwang is believed to have rebutted the claim, saying that the drills are purely defensive in nature.
Seoul has called on Pyongyang to stop its provocative acts and its inappropriate slander of the South, shooting back the North's denial on Monday of having any involvement in drone activities in South Korea. The North's Committee for the Peaceful Reunification of Korea earlier called South Korea's claim a fabrication, adding that it was unrealistic and illogical for the drones to have come from the North, likening it to another Cheonan incident. This refers to the torpedo attack on the South Korean warship Cheonan in March 2010, which killed 46 sailors and which North Korea denies responsibility for. Pyongyang's National Defense Commission also proposed setting up an inter-Korean team to jointly investigate the drones. Currently, South Korean and U.S. civilian experts are analyzing the data in the memory chips of the drones that may contain mission orders that could help confirm the drones' departure points and routes.
Korea's financial watchdog had summoned the top executives from the country's commercial banks in an effort to deal with corruption and the string of data leaks that have shaken the banking sector in recent months. The Financial Supervisory Service in the meeting is expected to call on the bank chiefs of Korea's top 10 commercial banks to modernize work practices and improve employee work ethics while conducting special mental training for their employees. Now, some of the bank heads are currently being investigated for data leaks and fraud. Earlier on Monday, the watchdog's governor, Choi Soo-hyun, said lax management led to the recent string of cases and vowed tough punishments on bank chiefs who failed to properly manage and monitor their employees.
Just last week, Korea's biggest tobacco company won a 15-year-long legal battle filed by individuals seeking compensation for what they claim to be smoking-related illnesses. But this wasn't the end of the tobacco war. The focus has now shifted to the National Health Insurance Service and its lawsuit against 3 cigarette makers. For more, we connect live to our Kwon So-ah, who is standing by at the National Health Insurance Service's head office. So fill us in on the latest.
Good morning, Jinju. A brand new trial is about to kick off as the state-run National Health Insurance Service filed a lawsuit with the Seoul Central District Court on Monday. Now, it had already announced of such intentions late last year, but the agency says that now it is ready to battle against the cigarette companies, and it believes it has a pretty good shot at winning. Let's find out about the details. For the first time in Korea, a public organization, the National Health Insurance Service, is suing cigarette companies to recover medical costs incurred due to what they claim to be tobacco-related illnesses. Less than a week ago, a similar case went up in smoke. 7 cancer patients and their families lost a 15-year-long legal fight against Korea's biggest cigarette manufacturer, KT&G. The Supreme Court said in its ruling that there wasn't enough evidence to prove that smoking cigarettes had a direct influence on the disease. This time, the plaintiff is the National Health Insurance Service, which filed a $52 million complaint Monday against KT&G, as well as Philip Morris Korea and British American Tobacco Korea. The health agency says nearly 4% of its total insurance payouts have gone toward tobacco-related diagnosis and treatment since 2011.
As you all are well aware, smoking cigarettes affects the entire population and especially women and adolescents. We're going to proceed with a legal battle for the future of our nation and to guarantee that health insurance costs are maintained.
The NHIS will focus on proving the cause and effect relationship between cancer and smoking, along with any breaches of the law that the tobacco companies may have committed. While its claims aren't too far off from the case that was lost last week, the National Health Insurance Service says it has a better chance of winning due to its massive database and its 19-year-long investigation.
KT&G, the defendant in the individual's case, refused to reveal a lot of its data. We understand that a lack of information provided caused the plaintiffs to lose.
The NHIS especially sees hope in the trial against Philip Morris and British American Tobacco, since these 2 companies have previously lost in trials in the U.S. In fact, the NHIS is taking its cues from the U.S., where several courts have even ruled in favor of individuals and their claims. On the other hand, in other countries like Europe, smoking is strongly viewed as an act that needs self-responsibility. It's a sentiment that currently seems to hold true in Korea, as the Supreme Court's ruling last week said the plaintiffs chose to smoke fully aware of the consequences.
I think for a while there won't be any individual cases, and the National Health Insurance Service will lead the trials. The next step we can make is to file lawsuits related to second-hand smokers who become victims of their environment.
So it seems that more legal battles could possibly be on their way now. Going back to the Health Insurance Agency's lawsuit, it looks like the amount of data the agency has on patients and also on the tobacco companies will be a crucial factor in determining the fate of this case.
That's right, and that's why I asked the attorneys present at Monday's briefing about the existence of any whistleblowers within the tobacco companies who could shed more light on potential wrongdoings. But the agency added that they cannot disclose yet whether they do have access to such sources. However, the NHIS emphasized that the entire trial won't just be taking place behind closed court doors, but that every piece of the process will be openly shared with the public. Jinju?
It seems this will be a long battle ahead, as many say it will be difficult to determine whether smoking is the direct and only cause of certain illnesses. So whether or not the data the agency holds will be enough to prove so is something we should keep our eyes on. Thank you, Soa, for that report. That was our Kwon Soa reporting live from the National Health Insurance Services head office here in Seoul.
Good morning. Now let's run through the front pages of your newspapers and a variety of stories ahead of us today. We'll start with Gyeongyang Shinmun and take a look at this headline here regarding an espionage case. And the headline reads, "An evidence fabrication scandal ends with the resignation of an NIS high-level official." And the subheadline, it says that the National Intelligence Service Director Nam Jae-jun was cleared of any involvement in the high-profile scandal. And in the meantime, hours after the prosecution's announcement made yesterday, Seo Chun-ho, a high-level official at the NIS, offered to resign, taking responsibility for the scandal. And we'll take a look at this story here on the side. It's regarding Samsung Electronics. And the headline says, Samsung to review with sincerity the compensation for employees who died from leukemia. Now, Samsung Electronics said yesterday it will soon announce its official position on the sufferings and deaths of its semiconductor workers who developed leukemia, which family members and activist groups claim was due to the exposure to lethal chemicals at the company's plants. And let's go on to 중앙일보 now for a look at this front page graph here regarding a cancer curve. The headline reads, "The rising cancer curve putting women in distress." The onset rate of cancer for Korean women is 2 times higher than for men in the age range between 25 and 49, which is indeed a peak period to build one's career. Now, as for men, there is a rapid increase of cancer incidences from their 60s onwards. As you can see here, there's a drastic surge shown by the blue line, which indicates the number of male patients. And the x-axis here shows the age group. The red line also depicts the number of female patients. So there's that steady increase of female cancer patients all throughout the different age groups, starting at a particularly younger age range than for the Korean men. And now let's go on to 조선일보 for a look at this headline. Also, the front page image here regarding it. The headline says, "Will a civil war erupt in Ukraine?" Now, Ukraine's acting defense minister has said that the country's military is in combat readiness for anti-terrorist operation to tackle pro-Russian activists in the east, as Russia warns of a civil war. Here in the picture, you can see the pro-Russian armed separatists in the eastern Donetsk region early on Sunday morning local time. And switching gears on to some business news here on the Mail Business newspaper. We'll take a look at this headline first. The headline reads, "Government to support youth startup talent." Now, President Park Geun-hye, you see in this picture here, visited a vocational high school in Seoul yesterday to show her support for students who opt to enter vocational schools rather than attend college. The Korean government will offer support for success of youth startups, helping them to set foot in the overseas market. Now, the subheadline says that the government will devise measures to build a startup support center in Germany, and the move is designed for the Korean small and mid-sized businesses to learn from Germany's small but strong firms, so-called the hidden champions. And lastly, we'll take a look at this headline here underneath. We'll enlarge that one for you. And the headline says, "Discussions underway on return of Korean cultural assets during Obama's visit." Now, it seems that the U.S. government may return a set of Korean national treasures apparently stolen by an American soldier during the Korean War when President Barack Obama visits Seoul next week. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Tuesday. And coming up are the stock numbers from Monday.
Midday highs will soar to as high as 28 degrees Celsius in Daegu. The last time I checked, we're still in April. What's going on?
Well, I don't know what's going on. Call it climate change or global warming, but the fact is that spring is not really feeling like spring.
No.
For more on today's weather, we'll go now to Chun Song-cho, who joins us from the outdoors with more.
Good morning, Song-cho.
Good morning, guys. If spring hadn't played tricks on the weather with unexpected warm spells in the past month, then most cities in Korea would be celebrating spring flower festivals by now, especially cherry blossoms. They're the first ones to appear and disappear in spring, so now you can only see their trees looking almost naked without their blooms. But it's not too late to catch a last glimpse if you go up on Songrisan Mountain in Chungcheongbuk-do province. Here, cherry blossoms are in full bloom now, which is around 10 days later than other places. Why so late? Because this place is 350 meters above sea level, so temperatures are lower by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius compared to elsewhere. These flowers will remain at their peak for another 4 to 5 days, so if you want to see them one last time again, then Mountain Songrisan is definitely the place to visit this weekend. Now moving over to today's weather, the current condition right now is relatively cool, breezy, and nice outside. So let's take a closer look at temperature readings for today around the nation. Seoul and Jeju's highs are the coolest at 19, and Daegu and Gangneung the warmest at whopping 28 degrees. Temperatures are high up, especially in the southern region, due to a continuous inflow of warm air from the southwest, as well as a high-pressure system over the South Sea. A mix of strong sun and clouds will also fuel the warming trend until Wednesday. Thursday is when things will cool down a bit, with rain showers expected nationwide. That's all I have for the weather forecast. Back to you, Minjung, in the studio for international news.
Thank you, Song-cho. That's right. Time to get a check on the stories that are making headlines around the world. We'll connect live to our Eunice Kim, who is standing by at the news center. Good morning, Eunice. The deadline for surrender has passed for pro-Russian separatists, but no signs of a full-scale anti-terrorist operation as warned by Kiev.
That's right, Minjung. Pro-Russian militias certainly did not show any signs of backing down on Monday. If anything, they seem to be expanding their grip on eastern Ukraine. We're learning this morning that Ukraine's acting President Alexander Turchinov has requested the United Nations for peacekeeping troops in a telephone call to Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. This as pro-Russian militias are said to have occupied government buildings in at least 10 towns and cities. Yesterday, hundreds of protesters took over another police headquarters, this time in the eastern city of Horlivka, and raised a Russian flag outside. President Turchinov, instead of meeting force with force, raised concessions suggesting more local autonomy in the east and even a referendum together with presidential elections set for May 25th. He expressed confidence that most people would show support of an independent and unitary Ukraine. Next, we'll head to Nigeria, where a bus bomb has wreaked havoc at a bus station just outside its capital city of Abuja, killing at least 71 people and injuring more than 130 others. The attack happened just before 7 Monday morning as people were preparing for their day's commute. No group has come out to claim responsibility for the explosion, but Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan says it bears the mark of a Boko Haram attack. The strike marks the single largest offense in and near the capital city since 2009, a direct challenge to the government that appeared to have contained the militant Islamic group to northern Nigeria.
Well, let's shift gears now and take a look at this study that was just released. And some mothers might have found this out the hard way, myself included, that TV can interfere with a child's sleep patterns, and a study backs this up.
You're absolutely right. This study was conducted by Harvard University School of Public Health, and it confirms that children who watch more television sleep for a shorter duration at night. Researchers examined information from an existing data set of more than 1,800 children in the Boston area from the time they were 6 months old through until they were nearly 8 years old. They concluded that for every hour of television a child watches, he or she loses loses 7 minutes of sleep at night. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but multiply that by 7, that's quite a bit. This was found to be especially true for boys and also for children of ethnic minority with a television set in their rooms. They were found to have slept on average 30 minutes less every night. And for those parents who want to know more, this study is set to be published in the May issue of Pediatrics. And that's a wrap of your international headlines this morning.
And still to come, with the warm spring weather comes the unwelcome guests, such as fine particulate matter and dryness. And this can't be good news for our skin, as it's exposed to conditions for acne that can hurt and also leave marks. We look at how to stay free from those pimples.
Art can be inspired by a great many things, such as emotions, history, and it can also be used to send a message as well. And our Im Yoon-hee joins us with one that does. Good morning.
Good morning, Young. So let me ask you, have you been to Tokdo Island?
Tokdo Island, it's a tough place to get to. Weather has to permit. No, I was not able to go.
But you've seen pictures of how beautiful it is
of course,
there, right?
And I've reported on it many times.
Oh, right. So this group of artists, Artists for Tokdo Love Association, they've collected together to show their love and appreciation for Tokdo. And so they've all been inspired by the beauty of Tokdo. And so they've come together to express their love. So let's see just how they do that.
The arts are a way for people to connect despite their differences, but they're also a way for people to celebrate their similarities. These artists have gathered to share their love for Tokdo Island. They were inspired by the beauty nestled off the southern coast of Korea, and through regular concerts and performances, they found a way to share their passion and inspiration with others.
Well, this is the third cultural performance of our association, this Artists for Tokdo Love. And today we'll feature 3 musical works by our own composers, based on poems by our own poets. And it approaches Tokdo Island from the perspective of beauty and from the perspective of traditional Korean women's emotion to Tokdo Islands.
The Artists for Tokdo Love Association has been traveling and performing for the past 2 years and has grown to over 110 members. By combining their talents, the artists can recreate the sentiments of love for the island that both the artists as well as the people of Korea share. Their performances include a range of categories, anywhere from the traditional gayagum to contemporary dance.
We don't need to express, we don't need to claim that the Tokdo is Korean territory. We just perform, we just express Tokdo Island in purely artistic forms like poems, dance, music, paintings, etc. And then by featuring Tokdo Island in truly artistic forms, we can show the world that this is truly one of the most beautiful islands in Tokdo Island, and the Tokdo Island is fully embedded in our daily lives, in the everyday life of Korean people.
It's their passion for the arts that enables these artists to share with others, but it's their love for Tokdo that really brings them together. Regardless the form of art, it's a unique event appreciated by all.
So much of the music is composed in-house. Are all of these in-house performances, or do they include other foreign parties involved?
Right, so they do have performed a couple pieces composed by foreign composers as well. Now, these artists were chosen because they represent countries that have had similar situations with their land as Korea's relationship with Tokdo.
Okay, so the Artists for Tokdo Love, this group, are there any plans for performances overseas, international performances?
So they really enjoy traveling. They've been to Jeju, they performed there, and they also plan on taking their performance and their works to Japan as well as Australia, so they can show people around the world how embedded Korea and Tokdo really are in terms of history and culture.
And this is to raise awareness about Tokdo and how Tokdo Island is a part of Korea. Now, there are other artists and some pop artists acts that have done this in the past too, and they still do continue.
So Kim Chang-hoon is another popular pop artist who takes an art show around, and he's been to New York, and he currently is planning next month to take his art show to Shanghai. And so he actually has a model of Tokdo that he's going to show there, and that's going to become a part of the Korean Cultural Center there in Shanghai. And so people have that to look forward to next month.
And it sounds great. It's always great to hear the movement of Tokdo, and also letting everyone know that it is a part of Korea. And thank you.
And it really is beautiful, and so people are very excited to share the beauty of Tokdo with others.
Definitely. Thank you very much for this report, Uni.
My pleasure.
And still ahead on Korea Today now, in the future, some things that are being developed right now, it may become commercialized. Now, we're going to take a look at some of the latest technological developments in the spotlight these days, from a new solar cell that offers more power to a medical patch that knows how to administer medicine, and also batteries for wearable devices. We bring you the latest.
Now to check the keywords that are trending now. The recent series of massive data leaks in the country has prompted the government to come up with measures to better protect personal information.
Right, and it seems that we have to come up with 2 more digits for our bank account PIN numbers. For more on this and other search words, we're now joined by Seo Misorang from the Digital Room. Good morning, Misorang.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know that passcode issue you just mentioned? It was actually one of the most hotly searched terms the past 24 hours. But before we get to that, let's first have a look at some of the other items that were trending online the past 24 hours. Passcodes for all bank account and credit cards are to increase to 6 digits, and many looked up details on this as well as the export size of Korea's gaming industry. Meanwhile, a software that predicts one's future face based on current photo got people's attention, as did the various posts surrounding Black Day yesterday. Finally, a photo of several celebrities having dinner quickly got spread around, perhaps because top stars such as Hyunbin and Jang Dong-gun were also there. But let's go back and have a look at the top 2 listing there, starting off with a passcode issue. For those of us in Korea, it looks like we will soon need 2 more digits to access our bank account and credit cards. The nation's top financial watchdogs announced recently that the existing 4-digit PIN system will change to a 6-digit one as early as end of this year. The plan comes amidst a string of massive personal data leaks and ever-increasing reports of financial fraud using these data. The additional 2 digits will be limited to numbers only at this point, but will thus make it 100 times harder for a hacker to randomly guess one's passcode. Now, all ATMs around the country will now need to change the existing software to accommodate the move, but many online users are in support of the change, embracing any measures to counter fraud activity. Now, as tempting as it is, try to avoid simply adding 00 to your existing 4-digit PIN or using your birth date as a new PIN, because this is one of the first things that a hacker will try. Now, moving on to our next issue, the gaming industry. The exports of Korean music, film, and dramas get a lot of media attention, but what doesn't get as much limelight as it deserves is the export of Korean games. According to Korea Finance Corporation's report released yesterday, the 2012 export of the game industry was worth a whopping $2.6 billion or 11 times that of K-pop or K-drama exports. In fact, game exports accounted for over half of all content exports, and many insiders called for increased government support for the industry in light of this huge economic significance. Now, 90% of that huge $2.6 billion figure was due to online games such as Crossfire and MapleStory that has a huge following both at home and abroad. Now, there were some interesting responses online to this, with some users even joking that they contributed to this phenomenon by constantly playing the game and contributing to the internet user database. That's it for today's News Sum Up. I'll be back with more updates tomorrow.
With fine dust in the air and very dry conditions come extra problems for your skin. It's none other than acne breakouts. But if you try to get rid of it without caution, it could leave you with unwanted scars. We take a look at how to properly treat those troublesome breakouts.
Today our subject is going to be acne, and many people actually do get acne even as they grow into adulthood. I'm in my late 30s and I still have one, and Minjung has a nice one cooking on her forehead.
Oh wow, thanks for bringing attention to my pimple. It's like our
That means we're still young.
We're
still
I'm
young.
having some skin trouble right these days. Two doctors joining us this morning. We have Dr. Alice Hyungyang-dan from Samsung Medical Center and Dr. Nam Dong-woo from Kyung University's Korean Medical Hospital. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. First, I do understand that, I hear that springtime is, well, you get a lot of pimple breakouts during spring. Why is that? What is the reason for that?
Well, not everyone experiences an acne flare in the spring, but certainly there is a subset of patients that has a seasonal variation to their acne flares. Temperature, humidity, the amount of time spent outdoors, also the types of creams and lotions that you put on the face. These can all affect your skin condition, and of course, these are related to the seasons. Although stress is not the cause of acne, it can cause exacerbations of acne, and spring can be a stressful time of the year for a lot of Koreans. This is the beginning of the academic school year, the beginning of the fiscal school year, and so there are a lot of changes and transitions. So stress may play a part. Also, there's more yellow dust in the spring, and that can be an irritant to the skin.
Okay, Dr. Nam.
What about in Korean medicine?
Well, in Korean medicine, acne is considered to be caused by the excessive heat of certain organs. And in the springtime, as the vitality of nature increases to sprout seeds or blossom flowers, our body also increases its metabolism. So the body temperature, or the heat of the organs increase during the springtime. So this will cause acne to appear on the skin surface.
It sounds rather poetic, your acne blossoms with the flowers.
Philosophical.
But there is nothing poetic about your pimples, really. And a lot of people have questions about pimples and zits and whatever you want to call it. We went out to the streets to hear their thoughts, so take a look.
I hold zits and pimples are not the same. How are they different?
I've seen people with breakouts on their backs. Why do they get them?
Some people say if you leave acne without treating it, it can leave marks behind. Is this true?
All right, well, it seems like we get pimples in certain areas. We get zits, and sometimes I get them right over here, and they're harder to pop. Zits, pimples, acne, whatever you want to call it. What is the difference?
All right, so zits, pimples, acne, whiteheads, blackheads, comedones, they're all really the same condition under what we call acnes vulgaris. Basically, what this is abnormalities in what we call the pilosebaceous unit, and that is a follicle that contains the root of a hair and glands that make an oily, waxy substance called sebum. Although acne is associated with colonization of a bacteria called Propionibacter acnes, it's not an infection per se. Some people get acne mixed up or pimples mixed up with boils or furuncles, and these are actual infections of the hair follicle caused by usually a bacteria called Staphylococcus aureus.
How about ingrown hairs?
Wow, there's a lot of science going into that pimple. It's quite a complex thing.
So they're different. Zits, acne, pimples, they're kind of one class, and then boils and furuncles are actually skin infections that need to be treated with either drainage or antibiotics.
Okay, how about a simpler explanation in Korean medicine?
Well, as Dr. Tan explained, zits and pimples they look similar in the appearance, but there's a slight difference in the cause and the conditions. Well, the zits are considered to be caused by the problems in the immune system, while the pimples are caused by the imbalance of the heat in the organs, or maybe the imbalance of the hormones.
Well, the question really at the end of the day is, do you pop them or do you leave them is always the question.
Yeah, so doctors recommend at home, do not pick, pop or try to squeeze your pimples, that can actually cause more inflammation and infection in some cases. So just leave them alone. You can put on a topical medicated cream or lotion or gel as a better alternative.
For me, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I was so
Popping
impatient.
seemed to work better.
Yeah, and I did get my share of acne scars as well. Right.
How about in Korean medicine?
It's the same. Don't touch it and keep it clean. Maybe wiping it with alcohol is an ideal way.
But the temptation to pop it is just too much.
Exactly. Especially when you have that homecoming dance, you know, just a week away, and you want to get rid of that pimple so you can get that perfect
Back in your
picture.
high school days,
Exactly,
though, right?
exactly, right? Okay, now there's also acne that comes on some people's backs. You know, you can see it on the back of the neck, coming down the spine or in the shoulder area. What's that all about?
Right, so you can get acne anywhere you have that pilosebaceous unit. And so the face, neck, chest, back, and shoulders, those are the most common sites. Some people, they just have that causative triad predominantly in the back region. That triad would be excessive sebum production, colonization by that bacteria that we talked about, and abnormalities in very top layer of the skin called the keratin layer, and that causes pores to get plugged up. And so for those patients that have that triad in the back, that's where the acne is going to show up.
I expect sort of an internal heating type of answer from Dr. Nam. Tell us about the pimples on the back.
Well, in Korean medicine, we have a concept called the meridians. As the blood flows in the arteries and the vessels, the meridians act as a route for our vital energy to circulate. And on these meridians, we have these acupuncture points, which reflect the conditions of the organs, and also if we stimulate the acupuncture points, we can treat the organs.
So you can, it is treatable with acupuncture.
On the back, we have all these acupuncture points that reflect all the organs of the body. So if you have problems in the lung, maybe the acne will appear on the area related with the lung. So the acne on the back may mean maybe a sign of pathology of the inner organs.
So something a little bit greater.
Acupuncture works. Popping it doesn't. What are some of the treatment options available for acne? Let's check it out.
Washing your face thoroughly is one of the most important factors in prevention. But if you already have acne problems, it's good to consult a doctor. One of the most basic treatments is using a suction cup apparatus. More recently, TheraClear therapy, which uses a vacuum pressure to remove the sebum, is gaining popularity. There's also laser toning and a treatment called Matrix Blue.
Matrix Blue is a method introduced in a European journal on laser treatment, and it uses a high-frequency diode laser equipment called Matrix to tackle acne with its blue RF waves. That's why it's effective in deterring the germs that cause acne in the sebaceous glands.
In Korean medicine, zone acne treatment improves the breathing of the skin and removes waste while helping with detoxification. There's also the option of heated needle therapy that brings the heat down in the skin.
Acne comes from heat in the face that thickens the blood and creates inflammations. By applying acupuncture to the face, we can release the heat and toxins in the face, clearing up the facial area and treating the inflammation.
Acupuncture, according to body types, cupping, and other methods that improve circulation in the body, allow for better absorption of herbal medicine, ensuring the effects reach the face.
So heat in the face and acupuncture to the face in the areas that are involved, as well as improving blood circulation, is one way to look at treatment options for Korean medicine. But what about scars? What about acne scars? Is there a treatment for that in Korean medicine?
As for scars, if the scars are very deep, we can stimulate the scars with the acupuncture needles so that the subcutaneous fat will fill up the scars. And also we have herbal lotions that can help the recovery of the skin.
Okay.
The acupuncture looks painful, though. I think I'll live with the scars if it involves needles.
Well, you know, if you have a complex about those scars, you'll do anything. You'll go through anything to get that beautiful look.
What about in Western medicine?
Fortunately, there are effective treatments for acne scars in Western medicine. And as you mentioned, they can be a source of a lot of distress and embarrassment for the patient. So you can start by, first of all, avoiding direct sunlight, use sunscreen all the time. Also, light or laser-based treatments can be used to treat both pigmentation scars, but also sort of the divots and craters that you can get. Fillers are an option for the divots and craters as well. And topical creams that are sort of fading creams, such as hydroquinone, retinoic acid, and azelaic acid, these can all be used as well, sometimes in combination.
Okay, well, though treatment is important, but I guess prevention is all the more important. What are some of the daily tips that you can give us so we can prevent those pimples from breaking out like this?
Okay, so I'll give you some tips regarding how to wash your face and what kind of makeup to put on. So what to put on and how to take it off.
All right, we're taking notes now.
So in terms of washing the face, you want to be very gentle. Use your fingertips to sort of massage in a detergent that has a low pH. Do not use any harsh abrasives or exfoliants to the skin. Yeah,
you would imagine using exfoliants.
No. And then avoid hot water. Use very warm water instead when you're washing the face. In terms of the cosmetics, you need to be careful what you choose. Go for cosmetics that are labeled non-comedogenic. That means they do not clog the pores. Also, fragrances can irritate the skin, so choose fragrance-free products or those labeled hypoallergenic. Also, oil-free products are better because water-based cosmetics can usually lead to fewer outbreaks and pimples. And finally, when you're choosing your cosmetics, be very careful, and instead of going for the shiny look that can have mica, which is a mineral that causes that shimmer, go for a more sheer look that can cause less irritation to the skin.
And how about in Korean medicine? I believe some of the foods that we eat can affect your pimples.
I was told to stay away from spicy food and oily food.
Yes, spicy food and smoking, maybe drinking, and excessive calories can all increase your body heat. So this will result in acne. So maybe tomatoes or carrots, apples, cherries, and ginger and grapes can help control the body heat by providing water to the body.
All the stuff that I don't really like very much. Thank you.
No wonder. All right, thank you to both of you.
Thank you
for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off in figure skating. Now, it seems like it's not just the fans of Kim Yeon-an or the Korea Skating Union who are unhappy with the president of ISU, Octavio Cinquanta. Now, Tim Wood, a former world champion and Olympic silver medalist, Bill Favre, a 5-time U.S. pair silver medalist, Tim Kerber, an ice skating technical specialist, and Monica Freelander, a journalist in figure skating, have all started an online petition seeking the resignation of Octavio Cinquanta. Now, some of the reasons include his lack of knowledge in figure skating, introducing anonymous judging system, which can lead to scandals, and a new system that has resulted in more political and reputation-based judging, resulting in scandal after scandal, including the most recent Kim Yeon-an incident in Sochi. Now, the petition has so far been signed by over 1,500 people online. And now moving over to the KBO, where after the Ulsan Mobis Phoebus claimed their second straight championship, the league held their award ceremony on Monday. And even though the LG Sakers finished runner-up, they were the winners at the award ceremony. Now, claiming the league MVP was Moon Tae-jung of the LG Sakers, who averaged 13.5 points per game and led the Sakers to their first league title, while his teammate Kim Jong-gyu won the Rookie of the Year honors after being selected #1 overall in the last KBO draft. And taking the Coach of the Year award was LG Sakers head coach Kim Jin, who won his third Coach of the Year honors after leading his team to one of the best records in history. Now, believe it or not, we're only about 2 months away until the 2014 Brazil World Cup, and for Team Korea, their final roster is still a mystery. Well, at least that's what we thought until manager Hong Myung-bo announced that he'll announce it a lot earlier than expected. Despite making several changes in the roster during the past year, it seems like manager Hong Myung-bo is pretty confident in the team that he has right now, as he announced that he'll release the final roster on May 9th instead of the previous plan to announce it at the end of May. He added that the 23 players will begin their training in Korea on May 12th. And now finishing things off in the KBO, when the KBO experts chose the NC Dinos to be the dark horse this season, little did they know that they were going to be this good this early in the season. And while the SK Wyverns seemed to be running away with the first place lead early on, the NC Dinos, who recently swept the LG Twins in the 3-game series, find themselves in first place. And while it's only their second year in the KBO, veteran players who were picked up this past off-season have really been a huge help. Meanwhile, the LG Twins, who finished second in the 2013 regular season, find themselves in last place, trailing the NC Dinos by 4 games. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Now, on today's tech segment, we're going to catch up with some of the country's latest inventions and developments in the field of science and technology. And to tell us more, we're now joined by Daniel Lee here in the studio. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to be here. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to talk about some technological breakthroughs that we have in Korea. So first up, we're basically going to be talking about developments in the field of energy. So let's take a look at what these technologies are. Conventional solar cells are environmentally friendly, but they come with low efficiency. So a new type of solar cell to address this issue has been developed in Korea. Compared to the existing types, which were opaque, the new double-sided solar cell allows for light to pass through. When lighting up 2 light bulbs similar in brightness to sunlight, both put out a near equal amount of electric current. But with the halogen lamp on the other side of the room, there was a near 50% difference. The double-sided solar cell was able to create more power with the light from the lamp. This study was introduced last month in the online journal Scientific Reports.
Usually you need special vacuum equipment to make solar cells, but if you use a printing method with solution processing, you can cut back on manufacturing costs. That's what we use for double-sided thin film solar cells.
Meanwhile, a new battery that can be used in wearable devices was also developed in Korea. It uses heat from the body to convert into power and is known as a flexible thermal element.
There's a difference of about 10 degrees Celsius between the human body and the surrounding area. Because of this, the thermal element creates an electric current, and this in turn transforms heat into electricity through a power circuit.
Just by sticking the device onto your arm, you can see power being generated. Using the difference between the skin and ambient temperature, 14 millivolts was created. By making it with glass fibers, people can wear it just like regular clothing because it's so light. The results of this study made it onto the online edition of Energy and Environmental Science last month.
You can use it multiple times without it deteriorating from heat, and it's reliable and easy to use. So we're planning on commercializing it within the next 3 years.
Many have their eyes on the potential these homegrown technologies have for future developments on the global stage. Now, these 2 technologies have received rave reviews because of the contribution of growth they can have on the energy sector in Korea.
All right, well, that's pretty amazing. But Daniel, we've seen solar cells in the past before. We've seen them, they use it, they apply it on houses as well to provide additional power. Now, this is double-sided, right, as well as translucent. What can this be used for when it's commercialized?
Well, let me explain. Like you said, it is a double-sided thin film solar cell. And basically, what we can do is it can be used as a window. So basically, you can cover an entire building with this stuff. And what happens is that you can produce 2,400 kilowatts of energy, which is 22% of the building's power consumption.
So it can really increase the surface area that you can use these films on.
Definitely.
And with the wearable battery, if you put it on the skin, it generated about 14 millivolts. That's a lot of power. Now, well, how about if you put it on your clothes? Wouldn't that make more power?
Oh, well, let me explain. So basically, if you have 0.05 meters squared of this surface area, basically you can produce approximately 2 watts of energy, which is enough for you to make a phone call.
Wow.
So that's enough energy for you to make one phone call. And also another thing is that the device can also recharge depending on the difference of temperature. So that means when you stick this device onto your phone, it can actually recharge your phone so that you can make another call.
Oh, so we can make emergency calls when we're in an urgent situation.
Without the battery problem on smartphones is always running low.
Well, I mean, the thing is the phone produces the heat, so the heat can be regenerated by the device.
So it's kind of recycling
Yes, it's a recycled form of energy.
Okay, quite
Now,
interesting.
moving on, we have some wearable patches for health purposes as well.
True. We just talked about wearable batteries. But now let's talk about wearable patches, which is kind of similar, but also different. And basically what these patches can do is it can monitor your health and also aid in your treatment. So on March 31st, what happened was that researchers developed a medical digital patch, and they claim that they can do exactly that. So let's take a look at the technology behind this.
A digital patch that allows Parkinson's disease patients to receive checkups without having to go to the hospital has been developed. All you need to do is stick the patch on the skin, and it reads the patient's current state in real time and offers treatment. It looks like an adhesive bandage, but inside is a nanosensor, a memory device, and an electric heater. The device was also introduced in the journal Nature Nanotechnology, receiving a lot of attention. The patch combined existing nanotechnology with semiconductor processing, which allows it to be mass-produced, and there are high expectations for it to be used for industrial purposes.
With various biosensors, you can check up on the patient's condition and state of illness, and it can also help prevent and treat other disorders.
The newly developed digital patch can open the doors up to revolutionary treatment options for patients suffering from motor disorders.
Now, this nano-digital patch is considered to be the opening of a new era of medical engineering, so a lot of people have their eyes on it.
Well, that really looks like something that would be in the future of medical technology. But the nano patch, how does it know when to administer the medicine?
Well, actually, that's a very, very good question because we're all very curious about that. So basically, if you look at this diagram, there are muscle sensors that are in place. And basically, the muscle sensors can detect any abnormal movements of the muscles. So once it does that, what these do is that it releases heat. And once the heat levels start to increase, what happens is that the nanoparticles that contain the drugs inside here begin to melt. And as they begin to melt, the drugs start to seep out into the skin. And that's how the device works.
Wow.
Very interesting.
And I heard that further research is going into that digital patch.
Yes, they're actually are having plans of combining the medical patch with wireless technology. So that means you can have remote checkups using something like your smartphone or even a smartwatch. And this will probably pave the way for more effective and more convenient treatment for patients that have difficulty moving around, or they may have other disabilities.
So everything seems to get more smarter and convenient these
Exactly,
days.
it's just not smartphones anymore, it's like smart tech, literally. So.
Smart medical tech as well.
Medical tech.
Daniel, thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's all we have prepared for you for this Tuesday morning.
All right, it's going to be a warm one, especially down in Daegu. So stay cool out there. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.